You know those decks you always lose to? Well, today's deck can beat them. Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. This is MahfuzVanGogh, your dredge guy, and today we are back to Legacy Loam Blue Dredge 64. This monster with 64 cards instead of the traditional 60. We have Life from the Loam and extra lands than usual. We have, if you consider Sink into Stupor as a fake land, we have 17 lands in this deck. And this is because we have some utility lands here. Since we are a combo deck in disguise, we can win without our combo, we can win with zombies from our bridge from below, we can win with Poxwalkers of course, but we are a combo deck in our heart. We want to combo with Dread Return, returning Asetoru, and then meeting all of our deck at once, chaining Cabal Therapies of course, returning Poxwalkers, and then winning with Thassa's Oracle. But we can win without the combo, especially because we have Force of Will in our main deck, so we can counter our opponent's best threats, and then slowly but surely winning the game, backed up by Life from the Loam. We can get our utility lands back, including Cephalic Coliseum, and I think in this build, with Life from the Loam, Cephalic Coliseum is an all-star. We have Blue Enablers, or the Woodley Gaze, Careful Study, and Brainstorm of course. Brainstorm is especially good in slower blue builds like this one, because you can cast a Brainstorm to put extra Narcomoebas back on the top of your deck, or anything that you want to draw or mill or dredge on your next draw. Minor changes that we have here compared to the previous build, the first build that we had some days ago. Now I have Hedge Maze instead of the blue-black Surveil land, because I noticed that we prefer to have green instead of black in this deck. Sometimes we want black, of course, if you have a Cabal Therapy in our starting hand, or if you need to cast Distinct with Imp or something from your hand. But usually what we really want is green mana on turn 2, so we have the ability to cast Life from the Loam and win the game on turn 3. Or even turn 4 with double Cephalic Coliseum. That happens sometimes. Something weird that can happen with this deck is casting Golgari Withdrawal from our hand. And if your opponents have that many Gravedigger's Cage around, that's no problem. You can cast 7/7s, 8/8s, 9/9s from your hand on turns 5, 6, and 7. You just need to survive until there. So maybe Force of Will can help you on this task. What about our sideboard? I'm including the 4th Unmask. Unmask is the incredible card that sometimes can target us if we need to discard something from our hand and we have no other means. But usually you target your opponent so you can have more information about how to sequence your spells, or maybe you can have an Unmask and then Cabal Therapy in the same turn to disrupt 2, 3, or even 4 cards from your opponent's hand. Nature's Claiming is a great answer against artifacts and enchantments. Ashen Rider is a catch-all. And now to include the 4th copy of Unmask, I chose to not use the 3rd Dread Return. I thought that was too much, especially because now I'm siding in Ashen Rider in situations where I side out the combo. So we still have something important to return with Dread Return, so we don't need more than 2 copies of this amazing card. Consign to Memory is an interesting card that can counter even a Bujuka Bog trigger, Endurance's trigger, or any colorless spell. That's pretty much it. Let's see if this deck has really some legs, or if this is just a dream to play more than 60 cards in a dredge deck. Don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below if you're enjoying this journey here with me. And let's begin this right now. I want to say thank you to all my patrons that you can see here on this page. Guys, you are awesome, and I can create content because of your continuous support. If you also want to help me as a content creator, please go there, check my Patron page, patreon.com/thedredgeguy. See you there. Guys, something happened with my mic. I think it was off. We are playing against an opponent, this is game 1, and they have Leilani of the Void in the main deck. So this is turn 2. I kept a hand with Boseiju in our starting hand, so that's good. Let's see if we can destroy Leilani of the Void with our Boseiju. We had a mulligan to 6, my opponent had a mulligan to 5, which suggests to me that my opponent maybe tried to find a Leilani of the Void that they have in the main deck, because they are fighting against me. I'm known as a dredge player, but maybe it is just a coincidence. It seems my opponent has a slow start here, so let's try to destroy Leilani of the Void. Is that happening? We have the tools to win this game on turn 3 after destroying my opponent's Leilani. So I'll start with Careful Study here. We have Dredger and Bridge, and we find a blue spell on top. My opponent tried to force. This is a blue-black Helm of Obedience combo. Okay, so nothing guaranteed here. Do I cast this Brainstorm? I think I will. Trying to hit at least a third land. Okay, third land and blue spells. So let's put Bridge and Secret Imp on top. I will place a Cephalic Coliseum here. We don't have Otherworldly Gaze, but we'll have ways to deal with my opponent's threats. And double Brainstorm maybe can get us something. Okay, Doughty Voidwalker. I'll say no. No, thank you. Yeah, you spent your Force of Will, but now I have my own. My opponent passed the turn. We will draw our Stinkweed Imp. Let's cast our second Brainstorm here. Come on, deck. Be good to us. Okay, Careful Study. So let's hope that my opponent doesn't have a third Void effect in the main deck. We'll discard both Dredgers and pass the turn. If my opponent has another Leyline of the Void from the top of their deck, we will need to draw a second Boseiju or... Oh, Thoughtseize. Okay, thank you, opponent. I don't care about this Bridge from below. Guys, my opponent is passing the turn. Are we really winning against 8 Void on game 1? I think we are. Let's crack Cephalic Coliseum here. Dredge 6 and Dredge 5. And let's discard 2 Dredgers, doesn't matter too much. Now, okay, my opponent conceded. Boseiju in the main deck, huh? Boseiju in the main deck. Take that, Leyline of the Void. Now, against my opponent's deck, we are still in favor to win this, but now we can include some other answers, like Nature's Claim, of course, and Consign to Memory. If my opponent has Doughty Voidwalker and Leyline of the Void in the main deck, I believe this is a Helm of Obedience deck, so Consign to Memory might be good. On the other hand, if my opponent has a Helm and a Void effect, we are already losing. So what we really want to create here is some space to include more answers to my opponent's hand, spells, and enchantments. I think this is fine. Let's submit. Sync to Super might be good against this deck. Sometimes your opponent's playing 8 Void, the Helm combo, will not mulligan until they find Leyline. Sometimes they just have a fast Doughty Voidwalker. So I think it's important to not mulligan until we have an answer to Leyline. But we have an answer to Leyline on this hand. We have Boseiju, and we have Unmask if my opponent has a turn 2 Doughty. If they have a turn 1 Doughty, we need to find our single bounce spell on turn 3. We kept 7, my opponent is mulliganing to 6. This will put some pressure on our opponent to find a Void effect. Okay, my opponent kept 6 without Leyline. Let's see if they have a turn 1 Doughty or not. Let's hope they don't. Underground Sea and pass. I can feel it. We will win against the Void combo. Bridge from below is not especially good here. My opponent plays blue, right? So I don't know if they have days. I don't think they have days. With this hand, if my opponent plays Wasteland, I don't think they play Wasteland, but I think it's better to play Cephalic Coliseum here and take 1 damage instead of revealing our Misty. Let's see your secrets, opponent, because then we can crack our fetch land. Oh, okay, that's not a great hand. My opponent had a Flusterstorm, Duress, and 2 Ponders. I think we need to take... let's take Fluster here, because I want to resolve my Brainstorm. And then maybe we can play into my opponent's Duress. Alright, alright. Yeah, sure, let's keep Creature and Life from the Loam, right? Then my opponent will force me to discard my Life from the Loam? Or... no, this is just better. Yeah. We have 5 cards in our hand. Let's see if my opponent will anticipate that. The mind games, the mind games. Yeah. Take that, opponent. Again. And thank you. So now we can dredge on turn 2. We have Boseiju for a possible Leyline or Helm. My opponent will ponder. They still have 1 ponder and they are shuffling their libraries, so that's a good sign for us. They have 2 unknown cards in their hand. We'll dredge 3 here. No other dredgers, so I think our turn 2 play is just getting 1 extra land with Life from the Loam and passing. And then next turn we can maybe win with Cephalic Coliseum. Because we have Loam, Tropical Island is the best option. And we'll get Misty back. Let's see what my opponent has. Hopefully it's not a Doughty Voidwalker. Ancient Tomb. Okay. Stock up. That's okay. We don't mind that card. We mind what my opponent can get from it. So hopefully we'll have good cards on top of our deck. Okay, my opponent chose 2 cards from the top 5. Now let's dredge 3. Okay, Narco, Cabal Therapy, 2 Bridges. Alright. No other dredgers yet, but dredge 3 is harder to get our dredgers, of course. I think considering all of it, I think we're just cracking Cephalic Coliseum even without dredgers there. Let's draw 3, discard 3, because let's try to get lucky here. Cracking Misty first, because we have a Surveil land. Let's see what we have on top. Unmask. Let's keep Unmask on top. And then I can crack Cephalic Coliseum, drawing and unmasking 2 other cards. Before casting Cabal Therapy, I can cast Unmask from my hand. Of course, I will cast Unmask from my hand. Okay, we have Dredgers now, we have more lands. I think I need to keep Stinkwood Imp here just to cast Unmask. Let's start with Cabal Therapy because we know about my opponent's Ponder. And this will force my opponent to discard Ponder here, unless they have something. And they don't know about our Unmask, so we are trying to do another mind game. Yeah, my opponent is spending a Force of Will. Great. They still have 2 cards on their hand, and now we will cast Unmask to take the goodies. The discard spells. Okay, my opponent has another Doubt Voidwalker. Let's take it, right? We could even choose stock up here, but let's not play with that. And now life is good. Life is beautiful. We can loan back Cephalic Coliseum to win in 2 turns. My opponent casts stock up. They are down to 14 life, and we have 2 creatures in play. We have Boseiju in our hand. Okay, my opponent concedes 2-0 against 8 Void. I can't believe it. This deck is gas. Let's keep going. Round 2, we are on the play again. And this hand is a good keep. We don't have Force, but on the play this is really good because if Careful Study resolves, we can win on turn 2. And maybe we can draw something good. So let's crack Misty here. I'm inclined to get... Oops. What? Okay. I thought that I was selecting, not clicking, but somehow I clicked on Underground Sea. That's okay. We have 2 Dredgers, 2 Stinkwood Imps, and let's pass the turn. But I was about to get green mana there, not black mana. Now what? Basic Island and pass. Maybe it was a glitch. I swear I didn't click on anything. So let's Dredge 5 and Narcomoeba. I think that's good, and maybe we have a win here, unless my opponent has Stifle. Let's crack Cephalic Coliseum, targeting ourselves. We have exactly 7 cards in our graveyard, thanks to our Misty Rainforest. We Dredge 6 again, and Dredge 5. Come on, Narcomoebas. 1 extra Narcomoeba, great. We have Satoru, Dredge Return, Poxwalk. Yeah, we have the win, guys. We have the win on turn 2, like it should be. Since we are not an IDD deck, having the win on turn 2 is the faster that we can achieve, and my opponent knows that. ziofrancone, I had some good battles against this player in the past. So, Basic Island, what we can expect from that? A blue deck, but my opponent kept a hand without counter spells. It could be Blue-Black Tempo, it could be Doomsday, it could be a Reanimator deck. Show and Tell. Show and Tell is everywhere lately. Has been. Okay, let's include Unmasks against blue decks. We are doing that with great success. I think I will take the combo off to include an Ashen Rider. This is something that I told you at the intro. I think this is a smart thing to do. We still have a great target. If you don't think that your opponent is not playing a Reanimator, Ashen Rider is good. And if your opponent is playing Show and Tell, Ashen Rider is great. So this leaves some room to include Unmask. Alright, game 2. This hand is a keep. Not the greatest keep, but we are on the draw and we have Careful Study and Brainstorm, and Dredger and Cephalic Coliseum. We need more blue mana here. Let's see what my opponent does. Scouting turn and pass. And we'll draw Underground Sea. Okay. This is an unknown blue deck. I think I will go to my cleanup phase. This is something that you can do when you play Dredge. You can play a manaless style just to guarantee that you have your Dredger. If you kept 7 cards, of course. Dredge 6. Okay, we have all the Dredgers, so we can now start playing Dredge. Let's try to resolve Careful Study. And if my opponent counters, that's fine. We can do it again on the next turn. Yeah, Fluster. Fluster suggests that my opponent might be playing a Show and Tell deck. So including Ashen Rider was a good choice. My opponent cracks Scalding Tarn for a basic island. Yeah, this is maybe a Show and Tell, Omni-Tell, Misty Rainforest. Cracking it. Another basic island and Cunning Wish in the main phase. My opponent will grab Surgical, right? Let's see. Yeah, Surgical. What do Surgical? Oh, Grave Troll. Yeah, because it's our only Dredger and we have another in our hand. That's a good choice. If my opponent doesn't have something better to do, that's a good choice. But we can win without Grave Trolls. We don't need them to win. It will put a break in our speed here. It will stop us a little bit. Okay, basic Forest. Now what? Since my opponent is probably a Show and Tell deck with Cunning Wish, I don't think they have Wastelands, so I'll play Cephalic Coliseum and try to resolve other legacies since they are tapped. Okay, it resolved, and we found two Dredgers and Brainstorm on top. Am I keeping Brainstorm? I think it's something that, since we have 2 blue mana, we can try to resolve a Brainstorm, and if my opponent counters, we can try it again. Oh, they have Show and Tell. So what to put onto the battlefield here? Let's imagine that we have some chances to win. If my opponent is putting something like... It probably doesn't matter. It probably doesn't matter too much. They are winning or losing. So I'll just include more mana here. They have Omniscience. Let's see if they can win. Yeah, they have Emrakul. Yeah. Let's concede here. Not because of Emrakul, but because of the extra turn. Okay. Now we are on the play. We know that my opponent is playing Show and Tell. I think what we did on our sideboard is already right against Show and Tell. We could include something else, but especially on the play, I think this is enough. Maybe the fourth Loam is... Yeah, no, that's fine. Let's keep all of our threats. Game 3, we are on the play. Oh, Ashen Rider in our starting hand. I'll keep it. And we have 2 lands, 2 blue enablers, Dredger. This is good, even if my opponent counters my Careful Study here. I think it might be even better if my opponent counters that. Okay, no counters. We have a Force of Will now. So let's discard Poxwalkers and Stinkwood Imp. So this Force of Will will probably pitch Otherworldly Gaze to be resolved. My opponent cracks Polluted Delta for a basic island. No, so, oh, Grafdigger's Cage. Absolutely no. Hopefully this will resolve. I'll force your cage. Oh, my opponent has a force of their own. Exciting Fluster and 4 cards in their hand. Now I want my opponents to resolve their, let's play Sink into Stupor, tapped. I want them to resolve a Show and Tell so I can put my Ashen Rider in play. Can you imagine that? My opponent plays Prismatic Vista and passes. Nothing going on there. We want more land, so let's draw. Okay, a Misty. I'll play it, I'll crack it. I think I will just cast a Stinkwood Imp, right? And we can try that again on the next turn and start the punches until my opponent resolves the Show and Tell. My opponent cracks Prismatic Vista. Will they respond my Stinkwood Imp? Basic Island? Okay, no, just thinning the deck. So they might have several lands there. They are pondering. Declines to use, so they like the top of our deck. Brainstorm. They draw 3, okay. So their hand should be good enough. Maybe next turn they will resolve a Show and Tell. Oh, another cage. Okay. We can win if we destroy both cages, but we need green mana to do that. And it doesn't seem something that we will accomplish soon. So let's keep casting Stinkwood Imps. We have another one coming next turn. Take that, opponent. 1 point of damage, down to 15. Okay, my opponent has Boseiju. Not the good Boseiju, the old Boseiju. We'll dredge 5 again. Okay, we have Loam there. So starting next turn, we don't have creatures anymore. So starting next turn, we will, let's attack here. We'll try to get green mana. So we'll start drawing cards. My opponent plays Prismatic Vista and passes, okay? Who do you think is winning this match? Me or my opponent? Okay, Unmask. Unmask is interesting here. Are we even playing Unmask here? Because I still think it's a good thing to let my opponent resolve Show and Tell. Let them to resolve Show and Tell. Let's pass a turn. We can crack Cephalic Elysium here to try to hit green mana. My opponent just plays the land and pass. So they might have only counter spells in their hand. They are down to 10 life. Let's crack Cephalic Elysium to draw something. Please, green mana on top. Careful Study, okay. So, oh, another Cephalic Elysium, not bad. And, okay, we have green mana. Let's discard... I think I'll discard Careful Study here. Yeah, I'll keep Unmask. Let's keep the green mana. That's what we really wanted. Now I can dredge again. Dredge 3. We have 1 Boseiju there. So we can destroy both Grafdigger's Cage in 2 turns. Let's get Tropical Island. But we might win before that if we attack with Stinkwood Imps 3 turns in a row. If my opponent taps Ancient Tomb or cracks Prismatic Vista. Let's attack, dealing 3 damage, I think. No answers from my opponent. Yeah, down to 7. It's working, guys. Okay, my opponent just passes back. And we are dredging 3, of course. We might even cast Golgari Grave Troll instead of anything else on the next turn. That would be a meme play, but that would guarantee us the win. We are attacking here, dealing 4 damage to my opponent. Yeah, we are so close to win this game by attacking with our Stinkwood Imps that I think it might be better to just cast Unmask from our hand. My opponent doesn't play with green. It's a mono blue Show and Tell deck. So let's do that. And if we see Show and Tell, we might let my opponent have that Show and Tell in their hand. Let's see. They cannot tap Ancient Tomb or even crack Prismatic Vista, so they have only 3 blue mana available. That's so interesting. They probably have only counter spells, right? They are deciding what to do. My opponent is still thinking what to do. Okay, my opponent let this resolve. Okay, they have Omniscience and Atraxa. So let's take Canyon Wish here. That's the good spell that they could resolve this turn. this was their show and tell. So it was a good play. Now what? We'll dredge 6, I guess. We have mana to do anything that we want. Focus Walkers, Cabal Therapy. But since my opponent has double Gravedigger's Cage, I will ignore Gravedigger's Cage and we'll try to resolve Grave Troll here. Because this way my opponent cannot cast Force of Will anymore. They can't tap Prismatic Vista or Ancient Tomb. They cannot use Bosejo's ability. They have only 3 blue mana, and we have so many creatures. And if my opponent has a show and tell, we have Ashen Rider in our hand. We are keeping Ashen Rider the whole time. Oh, we won! Against the double Gravedigger's Cage. That was superb, right? What a win. What a win. Let's go to our third match. Round 3, we are paired against Bumbert. My opponent is choosing what to... Alright, we are on the draw. We have Loam here, but this is so slow. On the other hand, double therapy on... Yeah, guys, you know me. Sometimes I like to keep bad hands just to test my new decks. And this is one example. This hand is not good, of course. But we have double therapy and Loam, access to 2 lands, or 3 if you consider Sink into Stupor. So if this is a tempo matchup, for example, this hand might work. My opponent played Scalding Tarn and passed. So, oh, we have a basic forest here. Let's play Misty. Considering what we have, I think we can cast a blind Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent here. Let's see if this will resolve. Targeting you. Okay, it is resolving. Brainstorm here. It could be also Force of Will. Okay, my opponent has Force of... Oh, is this a Narset? Just Skyway Master. Is this artifact with Narset? But Narset could be a prowess card if my opponent wants to cast several spells and then refill their hand. But Emery is a slower card, not a prowess card. So it could be a combo deck? I'm intrigued. Let's see what my opponent is playing. They chose Meticulous Archive and they kept the card on top. We might find soon what my opponent is playing. Basic Island. They could have played Emery, but they chose not to. So, okay, we have another Cabal Therapy here. We have Bosejo for artifacts. We draw Brainstorm. I'm still intrigued. I want to see my opponent's hand again and take that Force of Will. Maybe this is just a bad choice, but I'm enjoying my coffee here. I know it's already late, 6 p.m., but my opponent will cast Brainstorm in response. So this was the draw for the turn. Now what? I can name Emery, Force of Will, Lotus Petal, Narset. My opponent chose not to cast Lotus Petal, so for me that represents that they want to cast several spells in the same turn, like a Storm deck would do, and then refill their hand with Narset. So they probably chose to hide what is good, right? Let's name Emery. Oh, they kept Force of Will and Lotus Petal, alright. Prismatic Ending, this is also a control spell. I'm intrigued. Let's play this land tapped and wait a little bit more. It doesn't feel that my opponent is comboing off this turn, so I think I can wait one more turn to do something. They play Volcanic Island and Narset. Alright, it will resolve. I don't have an answer for that. But now it's interesting. My opponent can chain several cards and then draw 5, 6, or 7 cards in the same turn. Not now, probably. They chose not to even play the Lotus Petal. They are really trusting their Narset. We don't have removals here with this deck. So let's draw. Akomibo is awful. We have 2 now in our hand. To cast Loam here, I need green mana. So let's play the basic forest first. Grabbing Misty. And now let's see if we can... My opponent has Force of Will, so they will probably force our Brainstorm. Oh, no. Okay, it's resolving. Dredge 3. Dredge 3 again. And that's it, unfortunately. Guys, I hate to acknowledge that, but I think we will lose this. We don't have ways to draw any more cards here. We don't have any neighbors. We don't have Cephalic Coliseums. So we will draw creatures. We will draw one Akomiba, and then we can crack Misty. Or we can just cast a Sync with Imp, but this is not good. If we lose this game, at least it's an opportunity to learn about what my opponent is trying to accomplish. They will attack first. Narset is attacking. She's not only a planeswalker, she's a brave woman. Now Ponder. My opponent still has Force of Will, Lotus Petal, Prismatic Ending, and probably Brainstorm and Emery. And they liked the card on top. That's interesting because my opponent might end the turn with more than 8 cards. And they are not winning the game, they are just feeding their hand with new spells. So if this is a control deck with Force of Will and Prismatic Ending and my opponent chains several cantrips, what they are trying to accomplish here? Just controlling the game and refilling their hand? It should have something else, right? Bubble. Lotus Petal now, finally. Maybe they will Prismatic Ending one of their bubbles, just to draw an extra card. Emery Mills, no artifacts, just a Lotus Petal. Bubble Scissor, Life from the Loam, and Narcomoeba. And Narset will draw several new cards. It feels weird, but my opponent is not winning the game yet. So they will draw 2 more cards now with bubbles. We have a Boseiju here, but we don't have anything useful to target. And now we have this Narcomoeba useless. Let's try to resolve Stinkudimpo, right? Maybe my opponent counters it, and we can do something on the next turn. Okay, Stinkudimpo is in play. Now I'll cast Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent. Let's see their secrets. I'll name Source to Plowshares. They have white mana available. Oh, I was right at the beginning. This is a prowess deck with 3 copies of Cory Steel Cutter. We are so dead. But you see, my opponent is practically goldfishing me here. Because I am not offering resistance. And this is already turn 5. But this is an interesting deck. My first time playing against this deck in Legacy. So Cory, my opponent will probably play another one. They need to sack Lotus Petal for that. Oh no, they have a basic mounting. Alright. Would they cast 3 in a row? It doesn't matter too much if they cast the 3rd. Yeah. I think my opponent will probably not win this turn, but they have the win next turn unless we can hit our goodies. Okay, my opponent will Ponder. So Ponder, Brainstorm, Force of Will, Prismatic Ending. They should have Source to Plowshares. Narset, Cory Steel Cutter, Lotus Petal, several artifacts. What else do they have? Because so far what seems to me that my opponent is playing control, and they want to control the matchup until turns 4 and 5, and then trying to win, chaining several spells with after casting Cory Steel Cutter. So it's like a control matchup with a plan, not exactly a combo deck. Can my opponent win this turn? 6, 7, 10 damage. If I crack Misty, 11, 12. No, that's it. And now my opponent will discard those cards and draw several more. So yeah, this plan is working. We need to dredge into something good here. We don't have Creeping Chills in Legacy, so we must find our combo pieces. Narset triggers, my opponent draws 7 more cards. We could try to play Narset in a Jeskai control dredge deck in Legacy, winning on your end step. Let's survey, we don't need an extra land. So many lands. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 lands in 15 cards. Come on, Dredger, dredge 5. Let's see something good. At least some blockers. Okay, Poxwalkers, we don't have any bridge. We don't have any Cephalic Coliseum to get back with Life from the Loam. So these other Legacies should grab something. Narcomoeba would be good, so we can cast a creature. No? Yeah, I think I can only cast a blocker here, and my opponent might have another Force of Will. They will have at least 2 new prowess creatures with haste next turn. I will keep Careful Study on top, but I think we will not see the light of another day. Let's see my opponent's hand. If they let us do this, because we could target a Cory Steel Cutter, but my opponent has 3. Let's name Force of Will, but I'm just getting some information. Oh, that's a Jeskai Ascendancy combo. That makes sense, of course. But how many of those my opponent has? 1, 2, maybe 2, maybe 1. Okay, let's consider here, guys. So we had some information, and now we can sideboard accordingly. I kept a bad hand, and I paid for that. And now let's include a mask. We don't need our combo. My opponent will probably have surgicals or artifacts to get rid of our cards. But I think Ashen Rider is good. And yeah, let's keep our own enablers, Ashen Rider and a mask. This is similar to what we did in the previous matchup, and I think this will probably be a trend with this deck, at least for me now, playing against other blue decks. Unless we don't need Force of Will, of course, and then we can the combo. But including Unmask, Ashen Rider instead of the full combo with Dredge Return, and then we keep the combo against some specific decks, like decks with the One Ring, or when you really need to be fast to win. But so far it seems easier to sideboard with this deck, because we have 4 copies of Force of Will and then 4 copies of Unmask. Having an Ashen Rider seems important against all of our opponents in this metagame. Memory's Journey is an interesting choice here, since we are playing green. At least if we fight against a Painter deck, we can get them by surprise. Alright, we are back, and we are on the play. I will keep it. I didn't see Wastelands, so I think we are good here. If my opponent counters my Careful Study, I can cast Cabal Therapy on the next turn. And my opponent is a slower deck, so I think this is probably good. We have all of our colors of mana. Let's crack Misty and get an Underground Sea. And I'll cast Careful Study. Let's see if this resolves. Okay, it's resolving. Let's discard Grave Troll and Breach and pass the turn. Nothing good in... We are drawing so many lands, and of course we have 16 lands, but 2 games in a row drawing more lands than we need. My opponent plays Volcanic. Mishra's Bubble, okay. So they will not combo this turn. They are just trying to get new cards. And that's it, alright. My opponent is passing. They draw 1 extra card, we will dredge. So far that's fine. We can crack Cephalic Coliseum and try to win the game this turn. We have an other Dredger there, we have Poxwalkers. Let's do it, right? And having extra lands in our hand is good, because even if we don't hit Narcomoebas here, next turn we can cast Otherworldly Gaze and get our Poxwalkers. So Dredge 6, Dredge 5, Ashen Rider is there, Narcomoeba is there, Cabal Therapy, we have 1 Breach. We don't have Dredge Return yet, so let's discard an extra Cabal Therapy just to disrupt our opponent's hand. I will cast my first Therapy here. In Therapy, we trust. Everyone needs therapy. So yeah, we'll have many zombies here, and we will have the opportunity to get at least 2 cards from my opponent's hand. So I'll name Force of Will. Let's see if now we can get something. Yeah, my opponent had 2 copies of Force of Will. They should counter our Careful Study in the previous turn. We should have countered our single spell. And now we can get everything. My opponent will have only lands after this turn. Woohoo! We are winning game 2. Swords of 2 Plowshares. And I will not let you have this Mishra's Bubble. Mishra's Bubble. Yeah, and my opponent now has only 3 lands in their hand. We don't have exactly lethal yet. We have 12 power in zombies plus 6, 18 damage coming in next turn. My opponent found a Brainstorm. But without many spells, a prowess deck like this one will probably not win the game. If my opponent finds 3 good cards and a fetch land, 2 good cards and a fetch land, yeah, just a basic island. I think we have this, guys. Oh, Termot Script. A little too late. But good to know that my opponent has Termot Script. So my opponent is letting us know about something, and that's good for us. They also have Boseiju, but we have our own Boseiju here. Okay, my opponent concedes. Now, it makes sense. My opponent has Emery, so Termot Script and maybe Soulguide Lantern or other artifacts. Let's just submit the deck back. I think that's okay. We already have 2 copies of Boseiju. We don't need too much, because my opponent probably doesn't have too many copies of Termot Script. Game 3. This would be tempting with another land. But even on the draw, this is too sketchy. So let's mulligan. Okay, let's keep it. We need more lands, but we have 3 blue enablers. So we will find them. For sure. For sure. My opponent kept 7 cards. They play Scouting Turn and pass. Okay. No bubble this time. We will draw another Otherworldly Gaze. So let's pass a turn here. Okay, my opponent cracks his Scouting Turn. Let's take this opportunity to cast Otherworldly Gaze. I don't think my opponent has Daze, but sometimes okay, that's good. That's not an extra land, but at least we already have our Dredgers. But I really want my second land to try to win this game, especially because I have Brainstorm in my hand and Cephalic Coliseum in play. And Life from the Loam. Because if my opponent has a Termot Script or any other graveyard hate spell, we will need to rebuild our graveyard, so it will be good to have 2 lands. My opponent has a Surveil land. Core Steel Cutter, not what they need. Maybe they also are trying to hit lands. Okay, Brainstorm. But my opponent kept 7 cards, so they might have something good there. Maybe several counter spells. Okay, a fetch land. They crack it. Tundra. So Jeskai achieved. And now they have Pounder. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Okay, they kept the cards on top and passed the turn. So they kept 7, they kept the card after pondering. Not a good sign. Let's try to resolve this Otherworldly Gaze just to hit our land. My opponent is considering to counter my gaze here. Yeah, they will spend a Force of Will on it. Okay, let's dredge 6. I will try next turn. Yeah, and we had no lands on top. So let's pass. Next turn we will try again, until we hit our second land. My opponent exiled Emery. Emery is a good card with Ascendancy combo. And that's a win for us if my opponent finds Termot Script or other graveyard hate. Oh, they have the second Emery. Alright, that makes sense. Okay, they milled Jeskai Ascendancy and a bubble. Nothing too good there. They cracked the bubble to draw an extra card. Oh, they are passing. They don't have the third land. But they kept everything, right? So they might have something really good there. 3 cards. And we finally have it. I think I don't want Careful Study. Let's keep only Cephalic Coliseum on top. And since this Otherworldly Gaze is resolved, I think my opponent doesn't have another counter spell. So let's resolve this Brainstorm. Come on. Come on. Dredge 6. Dredge 6 again. And Dredge 5. We have Narcomoeba, Poxwalkers, Cabal Therapy, Bridges, Ashen Rider. We don't have a Dredge Return yet, but this might be good enough to win the game. Let's see my opponent's secrets. What do they have? Do they have another Jeskai Ascendancy in their hand but couldn't find the land? Or maybe Narset? I'm not sure about what to name here. Everything is resolving. I have 2 extra therapies to resolve. Let's name Swords to Plowshares. I still think my opponent has this card in their deck. No? Alright. So nothing good there. We can take my opponent's 2 best cards. We have Cephalic Coliseum here. We are going to win this, right? Unless my opponent has an excellent top deck. My opponent had a Scouting Tarn. I don't get it. Jeskai Ascendancy here. Why they kept Scouting Tarn in their hand without playing it? Maybe it was just a mistake, but they took much time on their own turn. Veil of Summer. I can say anything because sometimes I do things like that. I just forget to play my land or something like that. But let's pass a turn. This is game 3. My opponent has that Red Elemental Blast. We have Lethal on board. Ponder. Ponder on top is good. My opponent plays Scouting Tarn, Mishra's Bubble, so they still have Red Elemental Blast. And they crack Mishra's Bubble. And they crack Scouting Tarn. For a Surveil land, guys, I think we have this. What can they have on top of their library to win this? This is not a Miracles deck. Yeah, my opponent concedes. Oof, we won our 3rd match. Round 4, we're paired against Nathan. Nathan is a good player. He recently won an important tournament. And this is a keep. We have Force, we have Surveil lands. My opponent usually plays with Tempo decks or Oops of Spells. If my opponent is playing Oops, this hand is good. We have Force and we have Cephalic Coliseum. And if my opponent is playing it is Oops. Okay, my opponent is going for it. Dark Ritual. And the Spy, nope. Let's force that. Exiling Thassa's Oracle, unfortunately, but we will probably not win with Oracle here. And my opponent has only 1 card in their hand now, so we are favored to win this. My opponent cannot win with a single card, so let's Surveil here. Narcomoeba is good. In case we find black mana, we can cast Cabal Therapy twice on the same turn. And my opponent now... Nothing? Alright. Nothing's good. Nothing's good. So I'll provoke my opponent here. So you're back to black. Because I read something that my opponent wrote about not playing Oops or spells that much. But he decided to get back to Oops. Yet, for a second, he says. And now, let's put Loam in our graveyard for no value. And then next turn we can probably win with Brainstorm and Cephalic Coliseum. Ooh, no. Are we losing? Okay, Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual. Oh, my opponent had exactly what they needed to win the game on top of their deck, of his deck. Well, that's fine. That's fine. It happens. For a second, I thought about casting Brainstorm trying to hit black mana. But my opponent got 2 great cards on top of their deck. Let's see their deck here for a minute. Just the usual. My opponent might have Force of Vigor in the sideboard. Or maybe Goblin Charbelcher. We have a good plan against Oops here. We have all of those beautiful 11 cards. And I will take the Satoru combo, of course. We play defense against this deck. We are not playing attack. And let's get a little bit of everything. I think we can take even one of our bridges just to... I need to take something else. 1 forest? Yeah, that's pretty much it. In my previous experience playing against Oops of Spells, to include several cards like we did now. Okay, that's good. Force of Will plus Consign. But then after that, we don't have our own game plan. In my previous experience, you should play defense until you can attack. So I will not keep anything that can win on turn 2, for example. This is almost good again. Let's mulligan to 5. Okay, that's good. That's good. We can play defense with the Line of the Void and try to hit some good stuff with Careful Study. Unfortunately, I think I prefer my second land instead of Cabal Therapy, but that's a good question. What's better here? I think the second land is probably better. My opponent's going down to 4. And everyone is talking about Oops of Spells recently. If Wizards should ban a card from this deck or not. Personally, I don't think this deck is a big deal. But I can understand how frustrating it is to play against for some players. Okay, we have 2 Dredgers, nothing good. If my opponent has a Thoughtseize, we are good. And Cephalic Coliseum can guarantee or win. My opponent will not win against the Line of the Void and Cephalic Coliseum unless he has a Charbelcher. Lotus Petal, and with only 4 cards in their hand, I don't think they have a Charbelcher. Okay, they passed. We will Dredge 5. Great, we have 7 cards in our graveyard. Let's pass the turn. And I'm not planning to activate our Cephalic Coliseum. I just want to cast Otherworldly Gaze on the end of my turn, or of their turn, of his turn. And then I'll crack Otherworldly Gaze just to see more cards and keep threatening Nathan with Cephalic Coliseum. This is good. This is fine. Let's put everything into our graveyard. And we'll dredge 5 now. Okay, my opponent conceded. I should dredge 6 there. I'm blind because I'm not using my glasses. I left them on my room. But for a moment, I thought that Golgari Griff Troll was left from the loan in my graveyard. So that should be a dredge 6 and not dredge 5. Where are my glasses? I think I have a second pair here. Just a second. Okay, we have a good hand, and I have my glasses. All right. So, I will keep it, right? We have Leyline, we have 2 copies of Brainstorm, and a fetch land. We have even Cabal Therapy. We need more lands, and we need ways to put our Dredger in our graveyard. My opponent kept 6 cards. They played Garden of Freyalise tapped, alright. Is he playing Force of Vigor? 3 Brainstorms. Now what? My opponent has 5 cards in his hand. I could go for a blind Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent here. Just naming Force of Vigor or another card that can deal with my Leyline. I think this is probably better because we have 3 copies of Brainstorm. So we can try to attack after exhausting our defensive resources. I think this is better. Let's name Force of Vigor. Okay, no force. This is not a great hand, at least against Leyline of the Void, of course. Summoner's Pact can get that creature that can exile Leyline of the Void or destroy, but then my opponent doesn't have the tools to win the game on the same turn. They have Pact of Negation, so we should be careful. They played their second land, tapped. They don't have black mana yet. Okay, Brainstorm trying to hit our second land, come on. Ooh, no second land. But now we have a Force of Will. And we have Otherworldly Gaze for next turn, so that's a win. Nathan draws and passes. Passing the turn is good. It works for us. No land. We could keep Unmask, but we don't have another black card to pitch for it, so I'll just try to hit another land here. Oh, Grave Troll. Okay, let's pass the turn. We have Leyline and we have 1 Force of Will. We have Memory's Journey, but we don't have green mana yet. So let's try to hit our mana here. I will draw. Careful Study. All right. Maybe this is the moment that I forgot about trying to draw extra lands, but let's try one more time. Unmask. Cabal Therapy. No lands. Come on, deck. We have so many lands in this deck. Okay, let's put 2 Grave Trolls on top, and I'll cast Unmask targeting my opponent, of course. But what to take from my opponent's hand? They have 2 Pacts. Well, they don't have black mana yet, so I think the obvious choice here is the Undercity Informer. And after that, my opponent needs black mana and a creature. And they have a Thoughtseize. 2 copies. So yeah, let's take the creature here. And as soon as we resolve a way to put an Arcomoeba or Poxwalkers in play, we can get something else. But we should be winning by this point, but with a single land, it's hard. I think now that we saw that my opponent is not winning, we can dredge. Yeah, we have so many dredgers there. Let's resolve this Brainstorm. And we had no lands on top, so that was a good choice. Dredge 6, dredge 6 again. Oh, there are our lands, and my opponent concedes. Ooh, we won against Whoops, the boogeyman of the format. Let's play for a trophy, let's go. Final round, we are paired against BranzaDoppioMalto. And we are on the play with a super slow hand. Let's mulligan. Not better. I will keep it, but I don't like it. Maybe I'm just wrong. As I said before on this league, sometimes I just want to keep bad hands to test my deck, even if I'm playing for a trophy. Magic should be fun. Tropical Island and Noble Hierarch. Ooh, is this a green deck? We are not favored to win against green decks, especially with this hand. Let's crack Misty for our Hage Maze. Land on top, please. Bridge is not a land. Let's put this into our graveyard. And now we draw a land. Not the land I want, but the land I deserve. Let's cast Brainstorm. And now we have some more lands, great. Let's skip the cards that matter here. We can win the game next turn with Cephalic Coliseum, so let's cast Cabal Therapy targeting ourselves. Let's see if this resolves. Okay, it's resolving. So I'll name Grave Troll. And I have a Grave Troll. Okay, we have the win next turn, probably. But maybe my opponent also has the win here. This could be an Endurance deck. If my opponent plays an Endurance here, we have no ways to rebuild. Okay, just a tapped land. This is a Bant deck. So no Nadu, no Endurance, and no Scary Green Zenith this turn. Dried Arbor. This seems like a Nadu matchup. Let's dredge 6. Okay, we have Narco, Cabotherapy, Poxwalkers, Breach. Our only dredger is left from the loam there. Okay, my opponent has an answer. Source to Plowshares, alright. So now we don't have... We were still in our draw step, so we couldn't sacrifice Narco immediately. I still think the best play is just crack Cephalic Coliseum, but since we have only life from the loam there, and my opponent is not threatening lethal here, I prefer to cast Cabotherapy twice, just to see what's going on. My opponent has 5 cards in their hand, and they chose to play a tapped land last turn. So I'm thinking about Nadu, another Source of Plowshares, or maybe Force of Will. Let's name Force of Will, since we have a second copy of Cabotherapy. Okay, they had Force of Will and Nadu, and 2 Nomads. So Nomads is probably my best choice here, because they're 2 creatures. I could name Nadu here, but I think Nomads is better. I'm not sure how many creatures my opponent have similar to Nomads in core in their deck. So maybe it's better to just let them try to top deck a 3rd Nomads instead of a 2nd Nadu. And this way we'll have another Dredge on our next turn to crack our Cephalic Coliseum. Oh, they chose Uro instead. That's smart because this kills our Bridge. They don't want to expose their Nadu, but now if we find another Cabotherapy, we can grab that Nadu from my opponent's hand. We can force them to discard. Okay, we have Imp and 2 Loams there. Let's attack first, right? Or maybe it doesn't matter. My opponent doesn't have a Source of Plowshares. If they had, they would still... They would have used... Is that correct? That plow before my play here. So let's dredge. We have Cabotherapy, Satoruf, Bridge. We don't have wins here, but we have... Yeah, my opponent concedes because of our Cabotherapy. Oof, we won game 1, and this is a bad matchup, guys. So we only need to win 1 extra game to take this trophy. But this is not easy. I lost matches against Nadu in the past after winning the first game, because they will have several tools to fight us after sideboarding. So Unmask again. Let's include 1 Ashen Rider again. I feel like I'm doing the same sideboarding this whole league. For Unmasks, 1 Ashen Rider instead of the Satoru combo and 1 Loam. I feel like this is what I'm doing the whole time. I've been doing the whole time. Unless against Upsal spells, of course. We must respect that deck. Okay, what? Now what? This is obviously a mulligan. And this is a keep, but not the best keep. We have only 1 good enabler. Cephalic Coliseum can be enabler, but we need something else. And if my opponent counters my Careful Study, we are not in good shape. At least we can grab a Surveil land with our Flooded Strand. My opponent plays Savannah. And that's it, alright. This is good. Flooded Strand. Let's try to resolve our Careful Study, but since now we have another Otherworldly Gaze, that would be a choice as well. But if my opponent has some ways to deal with, okay, 2 dredgers, and it's all resolving. If my opponent has a way to deal with our graveyard, Otherworldly Gaze is a great way to rebuild. After sideboarding, my opponent will definitely have Endurance in their deck. They have Misty, Nomads. My opponent is leaving 1 mana open, so they have something. Dredge 6 here. Okay, we have several dredgers. Guys, we might win this. Unless my opponent has something. Let's crack Cephalic Coliseum here. It's resolving. Dredge 6. Dredge 6 again. Come on, Arcomoebas. 1 of them is here, and Dredge 5. Only 1. But now my opponent cannot plow or Narcomoeba because we are on our main phase, so we have the priority here. As soon as Narcomoeba enters, I will sacrifice it, targeting my opponent. Now, what to name? Nadu is probably what scares us the most here. Oh, my opponent has an answer. They're cracking Misty for a tropical island, okay. Oh, it's Veil of Summer, alright. That's okay. But we don't have bridges, so we don't want to cast the other Cabotherapies. We can wait 1 more turn. Please no Nadu, please no Nadu. We had such a good start, but we were on the draw. Basic Forest, just an Uro. No, Nadu. Natu. And now our opponent will draw several cards. That's so unfortunate. I don't like this card. I think this is just a bad design. But we unfortunately must deal with it in Legacy. Another Nomads in Core. My opponent will draw so many cards here. Not draw, but they will have so many new cards. Only that for now, but they can repeat that on our turn. And they might find Endurance here. Let's see. Hopefully they don't. Only spells. They have 1 extra land. Let's always yield here. Okay. They are letting me dredge an Arcomoeba. Now they have more creatures, but they cannot cast them now. Another Nadu. If they find Endurance, is game over. Source of Plowshares, that's okay. We have several creatures. Brainstorm is fine, but my opponent can cast it. another land. Just a casual draw 12 on turn 3. If they have Dried Arbor in their deck, they can do this twice again, or they can just cast a Brainstorm, or both. Yeah, they are activating their fetch land for an Arbor, alright, so they will draw 2 more cards, but they have Brainstorm before that. So if they have lands on top, they can put the lands on top. If they have lands in their hand, they can put the lands on top and then activate Nomads again, just to put those lands on top. I think this is what is happening. Okay, yeah, a land. Oh, they can even shuffle an unknown card with that fetch land. No, it seems they want, yeah, another land, Tundra. So maximum value from this ability. And now they have 2 Swords to Plowshares. They just have a new one now. Okay, they are exiling one of my Boxwalkers. And the other one. Everything on our draw step. Nadu is such a fun. So fun. Now we have Narcomoeba. We have 1 bridge. Let's play this Bocejo here. And I'll cast Otherworldly Gaze. My opponent has 1, 2, 3, 9 cards. Force of Will, Otherworldly Gaze, another. Yeah, we can. We can create 1 zombie and get 1 Poxwalkers and then create another zombie. Let's see my opponent's hand, but of course we are losing this. Because my opponent will draw so many more cards. So much more. Let's concede, guys. We have no chance to win after this combo happening here. Now what? Am I doing something different? This is game 3. This values a trophy. I think the deck is already fine. We didn't see on game 2, but I know that my opponent has Endurances. So it's not good to keep the Thassa's Oracle combo against Endurance. We must have immediate value against that card. This is a keep. We have turn 1 Careful Study, Force of Will to protect us from something, and turn 2 Life from the Law. This hand has a plan. Hopefully this Careful Study will resolve, and we will find more enablers. My opponent kept 7 cards as well, so this is going to be good. They are favored to win because this is a bad matchup for Dredge, especially if they have something different against us. Some Nadu players have Fairy Macabre, Surgical Extraction. Okay, it's resolving, and we have another Force of Will on top, and Cephalic Coliseum. We cannot crack Cephalic Coliseum on turn 2. I'll fire this Force of Will on anything, I think, just to stop my opponent from doing something. Let's see. Tundra. Oh, yeah, my opponent has Fairy Macabre. It's fun for everybody. Everybody but me. Let's crack Nomads and Core here. Let's counter it. I don't want to leave my opponent to an opportunity to just win on turn 2. Okay, we have another blue card to pitch to Force of Will, but no game plan after that. Guys, how can we win against this deck? How? My opponent plays Windswept Heath, and we have a Life from the Loam. Alright. I think I'll play it for no value, right? Just cast it, returning 0 cards. And then let's see. 3, 4, 5, 6. We cannot crack Cephalic Coliseum yet next turn, but maybe we can grab more lands. My opponent has a Brainstorm. They are taking a long pause here. This probably is a difficult decision. They have a fetch land, but they need to put 2 cards back on their deck. Okay. Oh, they are not cracking their fetch land, so they want the card on top. Sylvan Safekeeper is a bummer, because now if my opponent has a Dried Arbor, they can get rid of our bridges. Let's dredge 3. Yeah, let's get the Cephalic Coliseum back. We are still fine because we are holding a Force of Will. So we have time to accomplish our own things. I can cast this Otherworldly Gaze. Okay, now we even have a better Dredger. I could keep one Otherworldly Gaze on top, but I'm feeling confident about it. My opponent... It seems that my opponent doesn't have their combo. They have only removal spells, maybe counter spells. They play... Yeah, they didn't want to shuffle their deck after that Brainstorm. And now they have a Nadu. I'll try to counter it. They have 3 cards in their hand. Oh, my counterspell resolved. That's good. But my opponent still has 3 cards in their hand that they wanted on the previous turn. Hopefully only Swords to Plowshares. Okay, let's crack Cephalic Coliseum, I mean. And now we don't have ways to protect ourselves. Dredge 6, and Dredge 6 again. Another Poxwalkers, please. Narcomoeba is also good. Okay, it's in play. We have only 1 bridge there. I can cast Loam or I can cast Otherworldly Gaze. I think it's wiser to cast Otherworldly Gaze here. That's always yield to Poxwalkers. And if my opponent has Swords to Plowshares, they will fire now. But I still think they want Dried Arbor instead. Let's see. Unless they... No, Savannah, alright. So I was wrong. They have Plow? Yeah. You know what? I think I prefer that. Oh, have Cephalic Coliseum on top. But we have Loam here, right? Do I keep anything? We already have a Cephalic Coliseum in play. And my opponent doesn't play Wastelands. They have only 2 cards in their hand. I don't think they have Force of Will, because our Force resolved next turn and they have the combo with Safekeeper. Let's keep the other Cephalic Coliseum just in case, and I'll cast Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent. I think I'll probably name a second Nadu here, maybe Endurance if they have only Endurance, but I think Nadu is probably the best choice. Oh, just a Nomads and Core, so they had the full combo in the previous turn. Let's take that card, because that's super scary. Nomads and Core. And now my opponent has a basic island and a Dream. We also have a Dream, guys. We might win this. As long as my opponent don't draw a Nadu. Okay, they play the island, so they have one unknown card in their hand. Let's grab that Cephalic Coliseum, and let's crack a Cephalic Coliseum. I think it doesn't matter too much here, the order of things. If my opponent has a Fair Macabre, they will just fire it. Oh, no, actually, it would be better to just play Cephalic Coliseum. This was a mistake. It's just because I'm slightly tired. Because if my opponent fire Fair Macabre on Poxwalkers, I could cast Otherworldly Gaze in response. Hopefully they don't have anything. Alright, Narcomoeba is entering the battlefield. We have 6 cards in our deck. We could win with Thassa's Oracle, but we don't have Thassa's Oracle anymore. I want Ashen Rider here. Let's see if we can hit Ashen Rider on our top 3 cards. Oh, they have a Source to Plowshares. That's fine. We want Ashen Rider. No Ashen Rider, but another Poxwalkers. That's okay. Boseiju is whatever. Let's keep it on top, because why not? If my opponent has something weird like an artifact, we can destroy it. And now we are just granting some zombies, right? Let's check here. Yeah, we have Ashen Rider in our deck. In our last 3 cards. Let's cast Cabal Therapy, targeting my opponent, sacrificing one Narco. I'm not targeting myself because I want to keep this life from the Loam just in case. And let's name anything. I think I will forget Ashen Rider and just bring back a giant Grave Troll. Let's count our creatures here, because if my opponent top decks an Endurance or something, we will have our value before that. You know, I think we can have lethal or next to lethal if I do exactly that before my opponent. Because we have 2 bridges, so we have several zombies here. My opponent might need to block with Safekeeper. We have more than lethal on board. Let's create 2 more zombies. My opponent needs Wrath of God to win here. Guys, that means that we are actually winning against our nemesis. I lost to Nadu so many times. Okay, we are passing the turn. My opponent kept a good hand with the combo, the full combo and Fair Macabre, but okay, what do they have? 3 mana? Uro is fine. It will exile our bridges, so it was a good choice to get our value on the previous turn, instead of waiting one more turn. Now they have 21 life, we can do... Yay, my opponent is conceding! We won, guys. We won 5-0 with this new list. Is 64 cards the new 60? Like, is this what we needed the whole time? Just including Loam and Boseiju? Of course, we won against several opponents here, not using that combination of cards, but whenever we needed, we knew that we could have them. Let's talk about our deck. So what we learned about our deck today. Well, guys, I think this deck is so fun. It's so fun, it's so fresh, feels so fresh playing with Life from the Loam instead of Golgari Thug. Of course, we have Dredge 3 instead of Dredge 4, but if we consider the total value of Dredgers, it is not that much less, and considering that we are a combo deck that wants to win with Thassa's Oracle at least on game 1, this leaves us with so much value, because we had this opportunity many times in this league, right? We control a little bit the table with Force of Will, Cabal Therapy, forcing my opponent's counter spells with some enablers, and then we just grab 2 Coliseums with Life from the Loam and win the game, or something similar to that. Life from the Loam getting Coliseum back after controlling the game, this might be something good, even if we try to get back to 60 cards again. I'm super thrilled to play this. I'm not sure if this is the best Legacy Dredge strategy at the moment, but it is always fun to try to discover new things. And Basic Forest, huh? In a Dredge deck in Legacy. Basic Forest, that is something that you don't see every day. The sideboard worked, we won against everything. We had no opportunities to cast some of our cards on the sideboard, but I think we have a 79 card deck here. And I will keep trying to evolve this a little bit. And what do you think? Do you think this is just a dream that we just had some luck today? Or this is actually working? We didn't meet any tempo decks with Gravedigger's Cage, but before recording this, I did 4-1 against another league, and I won against several tempo decks with Gravedigger's Cage, because of Bosejo plus Loam. They are tempo, they are not so fast, and usually you have time to just keep dredging and then grabbing Bosejo and destroying Grafdigger's Cage and winning with Thassa's Oracle in the same deck. So yeah, I think this might be a new successful strategy in Legacy. Hope you enjoyed this with me. Click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Guys, you are not leaving that many comments lately here. Let me know your thoughts. See you soon. Bye.